Your Toro leads a lot. This is how we win the game. This is what happens, etc., etc., etc. Guys, stop griefing my game. I need you to do this. Then when it comes to the main stage, I don't feel like C players have strong ideas and opinions on how to close games out. I've been in that position where you're playing against a team that's better than you and it's eating the map better. They're getting the items sooner. And then you make one mistake, macro mistake, your guy shows at the wrong time, boom, 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 boom. All these things happen. If you lose a team fight, two guys die, rush down, dead DD ward here, and now the map state's like so spooky. Like,
Hello everyone, welcome back to the mid lane backseaters. Today we have a special guest known as Castaway. He is a tier 2 professional for Dota 2 and is currently playing the position 5 role. Welcome aboard.
yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome. Thank you for taking your time. So let's start off with TI. We've had a lot of exciting games since last time we met. Tundra and Gaiman being one, and the grand finals being a reverse sweep of what's been happening in the most recent 2 years of Pro Dota, where Liquid 3-0'd Gaiman, when usually Gaiman were 3-0ing Liquid. So
Yeah,
let's start on that topic. What are
yeah.
your
We want to
thoughts,
take
guys?
advantage of the fact that you're like a pro level player. We
Yeah.
actually have you on the podcast, so please speak. Feel free to speak your mind and like let us know your thoughts on everything. Like personally, I feel that TI this year was actually very exciting to watch because
Mm.
I felt like the teams were playing really well. I felt like every time a team beat another team, it wasn't because the other team just like was playing badly. It's more like that team was just playing better.
Mhm.
Overall, I felt like the quality of the games was better. But I know that on Reddit, they felt that it was not as high quality. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, my thoughts on the quality of TI, I felt like the gameplay was pretty up there. I would say I agree with the Redditors to a degree because I think the meta is pretty boring. But
Mm.
it's hard. I mean, it's hard to be like,
Yeah,
oh, the meta's boring, wah, wah, wah. I mean, I'm a pro player. I don't care about the meta. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna play the boring meta to win. And I mean, it's TI. Of course, you're gonna do that. So it's just difficult. Like there was only like 4 or 5 like range carries you can pick. Everyone's picking melee
mhm,
plus 5, and
Mhm.
yeah, you have to buy auras and stuff like that. So it's yeah, it's I mean it's not exciting off the bat, you know. But at least it wasn't a slip push meta or something. I think it could have been worse. But I
yeah,
felt like the game quality was good. Like I know there were a lot of 2-0s in the playoffs.
yeah,
Like I think all the main stage games were 2-0s except for the Tundra versus GG series in the lower bracket final.
Mhm.
But I
yeah,
mean, it's cool, you know. Like the games were good. Like I felt like some teams were just a step above the rest. Like GG and Liquid for sure. I mean, obviously they were the grand final teams.
hmm
But yeah, I felt like
Mhm.
after watching the groups and after watching them in the start of the playoffs, I was like, yeah, I think this is their tournament. But I was surprised about Spirit because they looked pretty good in
Mhm.
groups. I mean, I think their 2-0
yeah,
against Liquid, Liquid messed up, I think, draft wise and gameplay wise, but still Spirit are Spirit. They capitalized. But I still think like couldn't believe Spirit like just got dismantled by Nouns and then they lost in the lower bracket as well. I was like, jeez, that's kind of
yeah.
crazy,
It was
you know?
actually quite surprising. We did a whole episode on it, and in my opinion, I felt like Spirit felt quite lost in the drafts. Right? I think that's
Mhm.
like
Mm,
the main takeaway. They only had like, at least I think they only had like one like melee initiator that they could rely on, which was always collapse in both series. And most of the
mm,
time, teams have like two melee initiators. They have one melee support, one melee offlaner, and then they play around that or like a mid laner, right? But in this case for Spirit, they had like four range heroes, and then like one Kunkka, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
They
he's like trying to X mark them. He's like, no, I'll get him, and then there's a snowball
they
save. Like, what can you do?
they also
Yeah,
fucking picked Tinker and Batrider
yeah.
together, which
The, I,
was quite interesting. 2 games in a row,
Yeah,
but
that's
who
a
knows?
very good point that you mentioned, like the Tinker on Mirror. I mean, I think it goes to speak like I think it goes to show, sorry, that I think Spirit weren't really playing what they wanted to play, unless maybe they played
Hmm.
scrims and they were like, okay, cool, this is working
hmm
at scrims, let's try this. But metas are all about how does our team with our skill set
Hmm.
win each game of Dota versus what other people are playing, because that's all a meta is. Like a meta is, okay, these
Hmm.
guys are doing this, are we going to counter them drastically, or are we gonna like do something similar, yeah, and play like timing versus timing, or we're gonna break their timing or something like this. So for them picking something like Tinker Plus 4 that worked really well for a team like Cloud9 is interesting that they would try and adopt that, because I don't see Mira at all like that sort of Plus 4. He's just going to sit back, farm, scale, and then bring impact 15 to 20 minutes in. That's not what he does. Similar to Collapse. Collapse is not an offlaner that just buys auras, you know? He's playing like Magnus, he's playing Mars, he's playing heroes like Beastmaster, where like I always think of Collapse like that. And no, this patch was like Underlords and like Centaurs and stuff that you just buy these auras and you just rice for 15, 20 minutes. Come to a team fight, click your pipe. You know, some guy has a mech, some guy's got a solar crest, and then we A-click the enemies. So I think, yeah, they were a bit lost in that regard, for sure. And your
and then you see like Liquid, right? 33, he's playing like the Sand Kings. He's still playing the Beastmasters. He's getting like the Bloodstone first item, Sand King. He just made the meta his own, which is why he felt like Liquid was so much stronger, right? I really admire that about 33. Oh yeah, and his Visage is crazy.
I think Visage is such a good aura buyer, because not just he buys the auras, but the laning is good. You enable a pulse melee hero, and then he like that stupid soul assumption facet. He can really snowball so heavily. And I know because I'm a pos 5, right? You're playing in a lane versus Visage, and I mean it's like 33 Visage, and the pos 4 is boxy. Like goodness gracious, you know. What pos 5 and 1 combo do you pick into that? Like even something like Treant +1, I don't think is that good into Visage. So it's really difficult. Yeah. And then later on he's gonna have birds. He can farm a lot. He can take towers. He does damage in team fights. He buys auras. It's just too much, I think.
Yeah. Speaking of like the counters to Visage, right? We saw Gaming Gladiators decide to pick up the Chaos Knight in the first game as a sort of an answer to Visage. They're like, okay, you're gonna sort of play this new game. We're gonna pick Chaos Knight. He's gonna like out sustain you, you know, so to speak. But then it didn't really work out in the way they wanted to. Do you think it was because of the Chaos Knight pick is just too weak now in this current meta, or do you think there was a difference in execution?
I would say a bit of both. I mean, I think CK is not that good in this meta. But I understand what they're going for. The third spot's really good at sustaining the lane, and also later on, you can burst the Visage really easily. Like, one Orc Reality Rift into all of the illusions, you can kill Visage very quickly. But I think the problem is, like, I'm thinking off the top of my head, what pos 5 am I picking with CK that's gonna, like, own this Visage lane? And that the pos 4 on the Visage's team is not going to be able to help, you know? It's difficult. Like, if they have Tusk Visage, like they did, I think it's so strong. Like, level 1, you're just going to farm, and then if they get level 2, they can look for all lanes, and level 3, they have Snowball Save, they have Shards, it's like you're out of position for 1 second, you die. It's really difficult. I don't think you're just going to be like, okay, cool, CK +1, we're going to just, you know, pull this Visage in and kill him over and over again. I don't think so. I think
you can't do it with the Tusk at least, right? Because Tusk will just pull him back and then snowball.
But even something like Marcy, I think. Like imagine getting two-man rebounded into disposed, the bodyguard or the sidekick. Yeah, it's like I think you're just gonna get owned. So yeah, I think the Visage is just broken, and 33 is really good at it. So it's like perfect. I don't know what to play into it, to be honest. I really don't.
Yeah.
So
playing into their strengths.
I've honestly been wondering about it too. It's like it's weird though, because the current meta, like everyone's buying bracers, everyone at TI, all the supports are buying bracers. Like 2 bracers for 5s, 3 bracers if you're position 4, and then a solar crest, right? Yet all the really strong heroes were all these like heroes that save from bursts, right? They had Shadow Demon, they had Tusk, like 2 heroes that could be really good at saving from bursts. We saw some Oracle had a little bit of success, and then it's weird. Like there's so much HP. Like this Tusk just had like 4,000 HP at like minute 30, right? But and yet the heroes that are really good are the ones that have saves. Like is this like a weird meta right now where HP and burst are both really high?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because the bracer change was a bit stupid from Valve. I think. I mean, it's hard because it's easy to sit here and be like, oh, this is good, this is bad. But when you're a dev and you're like balancing a game as complex as Dota, it's very difficult. Like you change one aspect, oh, bracer is now going to give HP, and then all of a sudden, wait, I can buy 2 braces, it's 1,000 gold. I get like 500 HP or
you
550
get a literal
HP.
heart of harass.
Yeah, and then 25 minutes, I get double that. It's like, okay, cool. It's so nice. Like, for me on +5, I'm buying, like, triple bracer every game because... And Fishman was doing this in pubs before TI. I was watching a lot of Fishman VODs, and yeah, he would every game buy triple bracer. Number one, just triple bracer, and I was like, "Bruh, is this good?" And then after I realized, like, yeah, it's super good because I'm Shadow Demon and I'm scared of like Storm, Puck killing me, and that I just don't die anymore. I have 2k HP with like two braces at 25 minutes, so and I just use second spell on myself. So yeah, like everyone just got way too much HP. So I think they need to nerf this. It's
Have you
something that I've
downloaded?
spoken about before.
Yeah.
Like prior to the bracer thing, like old Dota, people were so squishy like the whole game, right? They were like tanky heroes were tanky heroes. A storm was like
Yeah.
squishy. Now everyone just I don't know, it's inflated. Like everyone's so tanky. I don't think
Except
it's
for
good.
Juggernaut.
Yeah, a useless hero.
Um, Going back on the meta, I want to ask I want to ask this question, where there are comfort picks and there are meta picks. As a team or as a player, how do you balance those in like tournaments? Like say for example, 33 could pick an Underlord, but he picks the Visage instead, which is not as commonly seen in the pro scene, but it is his comfort. So how would you say teams can balance around or players balance around each hero between meta and comfort?
Well, that's where I think the lines are blurred, and I'll explain why.
Mm.
Because I ask myself this question: what is a meta? You know, like no one designs the meta; it just happens. You know, it's like human intervention actually designs the meta because when the patch notes come out, we play pubs, we have ideas, we theory craft, and then based off of that, it goes into scrims from the pubs, and then the scrims goes into the tournament. And like yes, Underlord is good, but if you're not good at playing Underlord and you can't play it in the way that makes it good in the meta, then it's not a pick for you. And for 33, for example, like his Visage, I don't think Visage is like broken in the meta for everyone, but it's because he's so good at it. So the better you are as an individual and also as a team, the more you can just make your own meta. Like, let's say it's not a good meta for Spectre carry, but we saw some people playing Spectre and winning games in the
Yeah,
tournament. So
Aurora was doing
I,
it quite a few times.
yes, yes. So it's like it's got nothing to do with like meta or not. It's just how good you are. If you're really good at a hero, you can play it in any meta. Like I feel that about like for me personally, like with my Chen, with my Ange, I don't really care about the meta. I'm gonna play these heroes because I feel really confident. I know all the matchups and everything like that. So I think it's player skill. Like the better you are, the more you can like. Okay, cool. I just want to play this hero. Like it's the same thing about first picking. Like oh, just first pick me this hero. It doesn't matter. I don't care playing it
Plus,
against anyone.
I also feel like with the meta, it's not always fully discovered or explored. Like with this Tusk facet, I think it was good from the outset, but no one was actually picking it. And yet
Yes.
all of a sudden, like 2 months pass, and now like everyone's picking it at TI. Like not much change
Yes.
other than the fact that you can alt cast it now, but I think it was already very, very strong. I
Yes.
remember I was trying it out in pubs. I also have another friend who was trying it out, and he was just doing it, going no blink dagger, just solar crest, and just playing it, and he was just getting flamed. But he won like 10 out of 11 games. So it's like he's like, oh,
Yeah.
this is really good, and so I
No,
feel like with the meta, it's always room for more discovery. You never know.
100%. And I think we are lazy. And I've said this before so many times to my friends, other pro players and stuff. I even spoke to Fishman about this when I was in Russia and we were chatting IRL. And I said, like, you know, I think we are, like, close-minded in, okay, cool, once the meta starts to develop, we see the good heroes and we see the bad heroes. And then we're like, okay, cool, this is what's good, this is what's bad. But I don't think that's always the case. Like, just like this Tuskar thing, nothing changed. Just you can altcast it. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, this super OP. Like I was a big Tusk believer because I love playing Tusk, and I played a lot of Tusk Plus 5 when there was just the tag team. There was no other there was no facets before the facets. And then when the facets came in, the second I saw that Drinking Buddies thing, I was like, wait, this is dope. And then I tried it, and I was like, this is so strong. But it was just a bit weird getting used to the mechanics because it's like you're pulling together your teammates. So now I think the fact that there's the altcast and you can go straight to your teammate and not displace him, I think it makes it's like a great quality of life change. And I think that's what like
Yep.
sold people. The final selling point was that. But to go back on that idea of like the meta, I remember Fishman telling me This was in Februry, and we were in Russia with Neon, and he said Bane is broken. Like he loves Bane. Like he thinks Bane's super good, but no one is playing it. And I mean, we saw him at TI pull out Bane a lot. You know, he was like one of the only players that was doing it. So I think the meta has very little to do with like what is good and what is bad. It's about you as an individual and as a team, how you see games, what heroes you guys are genuinely good at. You know, are you gonna go with the meta? Sure, it's safe, it's understood. You know, and it's stable. We know what's good, we know what's bad, we know the matchups, etc., etc. So the drafting is very laid out. But then it's also predictability becomes a problem because okay, cool. They pick one Ranger, we pick Centaur or Mars. They pick Doom, we pick SD +1. Oh, but we have to ban Centaur because we have this, blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah. You know,
And
it's
then
like
it's
it
predictable.
becomes yeah, it becomes very 1 + 1 is 2. So. And I think that's what gaming struggled in the grand finals. I think Liquid just figured it out before them. Like they were playing, I think game 1 and 2 both games. Liquid had Tuskar ST, and I think those are just too OP. You can't give both those heroes. And then we also have the
Yeah.
Lone Druid. We have too many problems. Like there's too
I
many
mean,
issues.
yeah, they just banned all of 33 zeros in the first phase, and then they're like, okay, we still have all the strong supports. Let's just first
Yeah,
B, and then see what we
yeah,
get.
yeah. It's too difficult at that point. So yeah, but it's hard to say. I mean, like we can sit here and it's easy for us to say I think, but at the end of the day it's your career, it's important games. You don't want to be like, oh, let's just YOLO, you know. I mean, I take my hat off
Yeah,
to gaming. They tried in game 1. I would say the Riki pick was interesting, it can
I
work, but yeah, it
I
falls
actually
off.
think it should have
Yeah,
worked. I
yeah, me
think
too.
Quinn got too greedy, personally, because when I saw he went for this Aghanim's, right? He had like two components at 17 minutes, and at 15 minutes, if he had just bought the shard, which is the reason why you pick it against the Tusk and the Puck,
Mm.
that fight they took at bottom, they would have won that fight, I think, if he just had the shard instead of these Aghanim's components, because
Yeah, and
they were able to save Nisha, and it was just such a
yeah,
crucial thing.
yeah. And I mean, the second puck gets forced off, which Nisha did. I mean, then
Yeah,
he's
and then it's
self-sufficient
over.
at saving
Yeah.
himself. So it's
Yeah,
like you have a small window, I think. Like the lane's good
you have to
from what I
really
see.
capitalize.
Yeah, and then you got a snowball. I think you need the diff, and then you need the shard, and then you probably need Manta, and then or
Mm,
BKB, and then your hero is like really good because also really good against the Tusk and the SD. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's good. Also, I think Riki on the on the topic of Riki, I think Riki's really broken on support. I don't know about 5, but I think
mm,
4 because
Yes,
the smoke bomb gives evasion to your teammates, and people don't know this,
mm.
but they changed this a
Oh,
yes.
while ago. I think this is gonna
It gives
be a new
evasion and no
Tuskar
longer
that's
I,
coming.
slows.
I do. I know.
It removes armor when you get the shard, and then it stops
Yeah.
saving spells and items.
Mhm.
You know, weird topic on the topic of Ricky Pos 4. I have a friend who's 9K now, and he got there spamming Ricky Pos 4. Well, he got there without spamming, but now he's in 9K and he's climbing up 9K spamming Ricky Pos 4 every
Saying
Yeah.
game.
contract killer.
He just
Yeah,
keeps
yeah,
shouting
it's good, it's
contract
good.
complete every time he kills someone. It's
I,
super annoying, but he's winning, so I can't get mad at him.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, he's winning, and on top of that, I realized like this meta. For example, there's lots of Lunas and what's that hero? Wind Ranger, right? They're really strong right now on
mm,
carry. And if you click BKB on your teammates and you all just huddle and you put down the smoke bomb, they can't hit into it. You know, like it's 70%
Mhm.
evasion for your teammates, which is broken. But I just don't know how to make Riki work until that point. And then the shard's good because they can't save, so the saving supports are
yeah,
weaker. I think like if there was more time and people were creative, I think they could like do that. Like I think
for
XG would
sure.
be a team, for example. Jinq would probably
I
pull it
mean,
out.
Shinkyu has done it before. He's done it in the grand finals, I think, against
Oh,
the Tinker. I think he picked the Ricky just to counter the Tinker, stop it from saving people.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well then, it's
Yeah.
it's 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 smart. Because I know they tried Slog Pods for, which yeah, I'm not a believer at all. But I think Ricky's like a better version of that. I would have preferred Ricky. But yeah.
So, so would you say like Slock's a bit too slow to go and get all of his items as opposed for it to
Yeah, I
work?
just don't know what the hero
Yeah.
does at all at pos 4. I know you buy him to save and he can deward with his innate, but what is he gonna
I
do?
mean,
Is he gonna like jump in and like leash someone and then we can kill the guy? I don't know. That's
yeah,
weird.
maybe
It's
he can
I don't
just
know.
hit the guy, steal his stats, and then afterwards go into the trees and heal up. I don't know. Maybe that's the plan. Just trade
Dude,
endlessly.
But
I
it's
know.
so weird
But
because
Found it.
the regen's kind of low, right? Early level. So you're
yeah,
gonna
it's
like
like
hit.
3.
and then you run into the trees for like 20 seconds. You're like, okay,
I
bro,
think
you're
Riki has
2v1.
like a base regen of 4 as well. Like it's actually higher than Slurp
Yeah.
with the passive.
And yeah,
speaking-
Ricky's like got silence and stuff.
I did want to talk about this. So you mentioned a lot of stuff about the meta, as well as people like trusting the meta and using stats and stuff to like determine what they pick sometimes.
Mm.
What role do you think all these stat websites have played in like pub meta sort of developing much quicker? Because I remember like years back, the patch would come out and then people would be very confused for like until the next tournament or like the next few months. And yet nowadays it feels like the patch comes out and the next day everyone knows what's strong. Like it feels like it's way too quick. And do you think that plays a role in why everyone sort of doesn't develop their own meta anymore and they just sort of stick to one sort of consensus meta?
Yes, I think so. I think it's also because there's a part of it that there's a lot to figure out. And like, let's say you are a casual or semi-pro player, or even like a tier 2 pro player like myself, you like can go and find things out for yourself, obviously, which is a nice thing to do, which we did in the past. But nowadays we have a website like Dota 2 Pro Tracker. So for first couple of days after the patch drops, I can just go on and see, okay, cool, what's the win rate changes, what's the influx of new heroes, etc., 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 what's the best players playing, and you can just stand on the shoulders of giants, so to speak, with their knowledge and their understanding. Like, I don't have to go and figure out every plus 5 hero that's OP. I can just take like an hour, go through like 30 to 40 games, just quickly going through stats and stuff and seeing what all the best plus 5s are doing. And then I can like, learn why, if I want to, why is this good, why is this bad, and so on and so forth. But touching on the stats, and this is something that I've told my teams before, is there's that funny saying, stats don't lie, but I think stats are also misleading. Because let's say we're looking at win rates, you have to understand like, was a weaker team or a stronger team playing this Enchantress, let's say Enchantress, and where was she picked in the draft? What heroes were banned? What heroes were picked with her? What was she picked against? Like, there's a lot of things that have to like come to that stat. Not just like, oh, she's got a 60% win rate over 20 games, she's good.
Context.
It's like, well, maybe she's good because we're picking her to secure the safe lane, and it's really important this patch. Or maybe it's good because we see these heroes, or it fights a good +4 in the patch, or it's giving tempo. I think in pubs specifically, this is a problem. People will just pick the hero, and they don't know. So they're just like, oh, I see this before. Like, I play against a guy in SEA, and he just picks Tusk. I'm like, okay, well, Tusk is good. Okay, cool. But I don't feel like he knows why Tusk is good. He's just like playing the hero. And I think that's a problem that people fall into. Because these stat websites are great, don't get me wrong, and stats are important, but you need to go into the stats and really understand like why the stats are saying what they're saying.
Yeah. So speaking of like misleading stats, right? You mentioned it like in pubs you have to sort of first pick supports. There are probably some supports that you just can't first pick, right? They have to be in specific scenarios to kind of specific heroes. Do you think some of those heroes go under the radar because of that?
Yes, for sure. I mean, like for myself, I want to play stuff like Oracle and Phoenix because I like these heroes. And another hero that I like to play is like Chen. But I don't think that in pubs in this meta, for example, you can do that. Because like, let's say I pick Phoenix, and then the enemy pick like my teammates don't pick around it firstly, and secondly, like let's say the enemy pick like Marcy +1 in the opening phase, then I'm like, ooh, okay, not a good egg game. And then if it's not a good Sunray game either, what is my hero gonna do? Like my hero's kind of weak in the lane, so I mean, sure, you got to be good enough to play around counters and stuff, but your hero still needs to serve a purpose. So what is my hero doing in this game? What am I allowing my teammates to do? Or what am I disallowing the enemies to do? Or what am I punishing them? So like, let's say I'm playing against Marcy and not super tanky heroes. So I can't really egg, and my Sunray is not that impactful. I'm not like killing DK, or I'm not killing a tanky Underlord or something. I guess heroes are kind of tanky in this patch, so I guess Sunray has some value. But what if I'm playing against a Storm, who's gonna jump and silence me, or Puck that I don't catch? So it's a bit tricky. Versus in tournaments, you can ban, you can pick around this, and it's a lot more like structured. And Oracle as well. Like I'm super afraid to first pick Oracle. What if I first pick Oracle and my teammates pick no good heroes with Oracle, and I'm playing against lots of heroes that are good against my hero? I just do nothing, Like versus me picking a Tusk or Ench or Treant. No matter what, I'm just gonna click my buttons on my teammates, and then I'm gonna click my spells in fights, and it's gonna be impactful. Like That's why I think Treant's so good. Like I can secure any lane basically with my second spell on the sapling, and I can ulti people in BKB. I can heal towers. I'm annoying. I can get deep wards. Like this is so many things, right? Versus I pick Chen. I get Primal Beast +1 in my lane. I can't do anything. I have to AFK farm. If my teammates make stupid moves, I can't TP and help them. Like it's just too many problems, right? There's too
Yeah.
many holes. So just pick Tusker or Tree and or Ench, and I can just do whatever I want. And yeah, it's easier.
So with that said, do you think it's the core heroes that determine the support meta, or the support heroes that determine the core meta?
I would say both. Because, for example, some cores need help in certain ways that supports can grant to them. Like this meta, for example, prior to TI, DK carry was a big thing, and DK is kind of useless in the first 10 to 15 minutes. All he does is like Sven, he just rises. So you would need a strong POS 5 in the lane to help this DK get through his laning phase. So you need like an Ench or something to get him through there. So the DK is allowed to be a DK in the game because of the POS 5 Ench, because she helps him get there, you know? But they both work in tandem, I would say, because like if I'm a Grimstroke, I need some guy to go in with my Inkswell, and that can play ballsy on my Inkswell when I have my shard. So then my hero's value truly gets reached. And if Pango's good, then Grim's good. If Pango's good, then Primal's good, you know. But if Primal's good, then Dark Willow's good. So like it all just comes around, you know. And it's like a whole big circle, I guess. But yeah. But I also think the drafting thing in pubs is quite awful. This idea of like, oh, we have to pick both supports first. I would love
Yeah.
a scenario where we can pick one core and one support. I think that would be
Yes.
much better.
Yes, I would
Because
appreciate
I
that.
feel like in games where that happens, like a guy just first picks a core, it's so nice. Obviously, if he's not griefing, but if he just first picks a core, and then once support gets picked, it feels like those drafts are always 10 times better. Like I had a game a while ago, I accepted, I was a captain, I picked my guys, I alt-tabbed, I changed my song, and I came back into the game, and I saw, oh, Sanking off lane, and my pulse 4 picked like, I don't know, Dark Willow or something. And then the enemy picked Abaddon +1, and I was like, oh, it's a sick SD game all of a sudden. Like, SD ulti is so good. And I picked SD and I destroyed the game. Like, it was so nice, especially as like a high rank, like I was the highest rank on my team, so arguably I'm the best player on my team, you know, on stats. So it's nice that I was given like a better chance to carry the game from +5, and it felt a lot better versus like me picking my hero and the other support picking, and then my cores don't really pick that well, like around their supports and around our supports. So yeah, but I don't know how they will change that. The drafting, the immortal drafting is
Yeah,
weird. I don't know.
they
Culture,
should definitely do something about it.
It's the culture thing.
Okay. I want to get back on the topic of Sea Dota. Sort of like, so we talked about the finals, right? And how Gaimin and Liquid had like their meta and everything. I want to talk about a little bit about why do you think C teams don't perform as well internationally? Because you can't say that the rosters are bad, because the rosters are definitely like decent enough to be able to perform at least at like, you know, an okay level to competitive level at the tournaments. Why is it that like the C meta doesn't seem to translate very well internationally, in your opinion?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I would say firstly, from my experience in Neon, when we played our own meta and we went to Russia, we did very well. Like comparatively, like when we scrimmed a lot of EU teams when we were there, like Ramses' team, not obviously Tundra, but it was Ramses' Liga team. We scrimmed like teams like Level Up. We scrimmed a lot of teams, and we owned them, and they were like, "Wow, you guys play so well. Like you don't play like C and stuff," and I was like taken aback because I was like, I think a lot of C teams go through this, but then when it comes to the main stage, I don't feel like C players have strong ideas and opinions on how to close games out. Like, there's been this idea of C lacks a captain, and yes, to a degree, I agree. Yes, C lacks like a good captain or whatever to lead, but I think it also comes down to the cause, especially I would say the carry. Because if you watch, like, for example, the old True Sites from Team Spirit winning TI the first time and the second time, your Toro leads a lot. And Whiteman also mentioned when they had the exit interview, he spoke about Pure, and he said Pure is amazing. He's like the best carry in the world at the moment. He's leading and all of this and that. Because your carry is your strongest hero, arguably in the majority of games, at a certain point. If he can lead, that's ideal. If he says, "Hey guys, I'm gonna go put my foot down. This is how we win the game. This is what happens, etc., etc., etc. And obviously his ideas are good. Then that will translate into you winning games because he's the strong hero. He knows what he needs. And for example, Russian carry players and EU carry players are very good at doing this in pubs and obviously in tournaments. And I think that's why they have a lot more success than C. Versus in C, I don't feel. I mean, carries do talk about it, but I don't feel that same level. No offense, you know, because when I play in Europe, because I'm in South Africa at the moment, I can play Europe and C. And if I play Europe, even like the lower rank carries do this automatically. Like, yes, they're a bit more toxic and whiny, but I think that's a part of it because they're like they know what they need.
It's
You
a
know,
symptom.
they're like, yeah, they know what they need. So
We can't
they'll
help
be like,
it.
guys, stop griefing my game. I need you to do this, you know, because to them that's a grief in their game, you know. Like, and I've played with Yotoro quite a few times, not recently, but in the past, also when I was in Russia. It's so nice to play with him. He will say everything like. And we're like, okay, cool. After lane, I'm gonna farm here. Then I'm gonna do this. When I get this timing, we can fight. Hey guys, I need this. I need this. And
It's just a game
makes
plan,
life. Yeah. But it's like a game plan from your strongest hero. So it's like, okay, cool. My strong hero, my big guy, my big brother over here needs me to do this, and he will kill all the enemies for me, you know, as a support. So I'm like, okay, cool. He's gonna farm here. I'm gonna put these wards. I'm gonna cover him here, etc., etc., etc. I don't think that needs to come from like a support captain, you know? Like I understand that a support captain is great, but that's like the drafting, the idea of the team, the leading in general, the
Early
updating
game.
timings, etc., etc. That's great, and that's very important. And I think does C lack that to a degree? Probably, but I don't know. I haven't studied C teams like that. But what I've looked at with the carries for sure, that's lacking. I think their leadership, like that little carry leadership towards the mid late game, I think is what EU has down. And I don't know about China. I haven't watched too many of their. I don't think they do it either, and I think that's probably why they're also struggling. Because it just makes the most sense. Like the strong guy needs to lead, like when he's strong. So yeah, I think that's why Europe's been doing so well and dominating like how many TIs and stuff like that.
So like talking about leadership in the game, like which role should lead like what time roughly? So say for example the first 15 minutes, who's like making the calls and stuff? Is it the mid laner with the 6 minute bounty runes? Or is it someone else? The like 25, 35 minutes and like who's making the shot calls then in your team, for
Well,
example?
in my teams, like in Neon,
Mhm.
first 15 to 20 minutes, it was mostly me and Ken, because me and the mid laner.
Mhm.
So, like, I would, like, when the draft ends, I would be like, hey guys, this is our timings, this is what we want to do, this is blah blah, this is what the enemy wants to do, and then that's like the script. We called it the script. Like it's like the first 10 to 15 minutes. This is how it has to look. Like all these little things, what we need, what they need, because then it's gonna tell you what you want to do. Like, do we need to block ancients? Are we happy trading farm? Must we fight? Are we stronger? Are we weaker? Blah 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 blah. And then you sort of update this as you go along. Like as a pos 5 and your pos 4, I think should be talking about this. Talk about your lane states or how you're gonna get out of the laning stage. You know, like you can give some ideas, but I think it's sort of a team effort. Like, let's say, for example, your mid laner is struggling and your off laner is like a Mars or a Kunkka and they have level 6. They should be the one, in my opinion, not anyone else, to say, hey, I have ulti. I want to use my ulti, at least. And then you can be like, hey, mid's struggling. Maybe you can TP. Can we make a bait play? And then that's how you like communicate. These are the timings and stuff like that. But once it starts getting later, I don't think it's like the captain, let's say the captain's plus 5, like me in my teams, I can give ideas, but I've found that me giving the idea is great, but I can't be the one to force the idea. They need to like believe it and see it themselves. So I should say, guys, I believe we're strong. We should look for a fight. I have wards, I have smoke. Let's go. And then they will say yes or no, and then goes from there. But what needs to happen is like the plus 5 will say, hey, I got wards, I got smoke. This is where they're gonna be. I think they're here. We can go like this. And then the carry will be like, yeah, I'm so ready to fight. Guys, in the team fight now, I need this, this, and this. I need you to stun this guy, and I will kill them all. Blah, 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 blah. And I think that doesn't happen enough. And in the team fight itself, like, the carry needs to, like, talk a lot. Like, when I was watching the Team Spirit, the most recent TI they won, there wasn't a true site, but Team Spirit did their own, like, true
TI
site
12.
thingy.
Their own vlog.
Yeah, they did their own vlog thing and they did the comms in game. Your Toro speaks so much in the team fights, and I would love to play with a carry like that. No offense to the C carries, but they don't do that. Like he's like he was playing TB in the one game against, starting to say Tinker, and I remember him saying like all the time, like, guys, fight me, fight me, kill Tinker, guys, I'm gonna F them, like, I'm respawning out Aegis, go, blah, 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 I need the stuff, like that's fantastic, you know, no one else needs to talk. Yeah, no one else needs to talk, because he's the damage needs to discuss what he needs. So yeah, I think that's very, very important. Those shot calling moments, because that's what wins you fights. That's what wins you games. Like these Roshan calls and stuff. Like your carry or the Roshan damage dealer needs to be like, guys, we're gonna take Rosh now. Hey, if they come, we fight first. And he knows at what percentage of Rosh do we finish or do we fight. You know, like they need to have that in them. You know, and I think that's what, once again, I said earlier, the European players and the Russian players are just much better at doing. And I think that's why, a part of the reason why, I think that they've been winning. Because I don't think like C has problems with drafting that much. I don't think China has that much problems with drafting. I think XG had a few problems, in my opinion. Some of their drafts were weird, and I didn't understand it. Yeah, not just that, but just like the way that they traded heroes. But I think like, yeah, it's just, for me, it's just timings and shot calling. I don't think is very good in C comparatively.
Okay, I mean, those are really good points, right? Because I remember back in like TI5, TI6, it used to be where you'd have the de facto one captain who'd make all the shot calls, like the PPD or the no tail or the misery, and you don't see that anymore, right? Like you were saying, it needs to be more so different shot calls based on the time period, right? Okay, you made the shot calls the first 15 minutes because you were the one in the controlling where things are going, where things are moving, and you were like, surveying the map. But now that the lanes have sort of collapsed and now we're done farming, we're ready to start fighting, taking objectives and stuff, I need the person who has the most, power and influence in these fights to make the calls. Like I need my carry, I need my mid laner. It depends on, which hero is which, right? In the specific game, like who can take Roshan or who's deal the damage. To be like, hey, in order for me to do my job in this team fight, I need you guys to do this. Like disable this task. Just make sure he doesn't get his snowball off, so I can kill this swap. Right? I just need to kill him, and then they're screwed. They have no damage. Right? These are the calls that people need to start making. And I play in C. Leo plays in C. Leo's a carry player. He's actually quite shy and soft-spoken himself.
I don't like talking. As you see right now,
I do not. He's part of the problem, actually.
Yes, that's actually true.
Yes,
I am.
He's part of the problem. The C carry players, because they're sort of shy and soft-spoken. Maybe it's like a culture thing. It could just be because it's a culture thing. They just don't want to communicate what they need in fights, right? They feel embarrassed, maybe like, oh no, I should be able to win the fight without asking for help, right? Which maybe that's a sort of mindset shift that needs to happen. Now, looking at like the requirements, to get to the point where you can actually start making these types of decisions and adjustments, what do you think are like the best tips to climbing MMR? At least like in the C region, if nothing else.
Yo, I don't think I'm very qualified. I struggle climbing MMR and C. As POS 5, I just climb in Europe. It's so hard to climb in C because of the Chinese. They don't understand English and stuff.
Dude,
but
I know.
I mean, I
Speak
think
Chinese.
I think the biggest thing about climbing MMR in any region, C or whatever, is just consistency. And consistently doing the right things that you ought to be doing. And then getting a feel for how your games play out, like in general. Like, do you feel like your carries farm a lot or a little? Are they more aggressive in lane? Are they not aggressive in lane? Like, for example, I can take from my experience. When I play POS 5 in C, my carries never want to fight in lane. Like, ever. But if I play POS 4, my off lanes want to fight a lot in lane. But in Europe, my carry wants to, like, if he plays Lina, if he plays One Ranger, he plays Morana, he plays even Morphling. He wants to get to a point, like level 3, level 4, where he is bullying the off lane if we have a winning matchup, But if we don't have a winning matchup, he will say at the start. Like, even a lowish rank carry guy will be like, bro, we just farm in this lane. And that's all he will say. And then we know, okay, we're 5-5 in the lane, we're 50-50 net worth, it's okay, But, like, if I play in Europe and I play with like a rank 300 or 400 Lina player, he wants at level 3 where he has one-on-one skill build, he wants to be stunning the guy, denying CS, hitting the guy, queuing him, controlling big camp. That's what they want to do. In C, I play with like a rank 150, rank 100 carry player. that's not what he wants to do. He wants to just safely secure his farm. He wants to chill. He wants to get to his Gleipnir, and then he'll play Dota. But even then, he might get to Gleipnir. He's probably still going to farm a bit, you know? He might queue up Boots of Travel and be greedy. Versus in Europe, they're like looking for these windows, and they want to gate. Like they will want to like unlock the map. Like I'll play with the Luna, and he'll be like, hey, I have 6. I want to go gate. I want to go open the tower. If the other lane's doing well. But in C, that will not happen. Like he wants to just AFK farm, you know? So I just think it's like, I don't want to be mean, and I don't want people to think I'm racist or something, but I think it's like small-brained, you know? Like, it's not seeing the bigger picture. Like, you need to look at the whole picture of the game, you know? Like, not just your little game. Like, your game's important, don't get me wrong. Like, you want to farm and stuff, but, like, what can I do for my team right now, you know? And I think that the cores in C don't have that at the same level, you know, the same skill
They should be
ceiling
more
as
active, as well as think more
at timings, yes.
like timings and stuff.
Talking about portaling, how important is taking the first tier 1, I mean the safe lane is tier 1 tower in like 10 minutes, and how important is that for a successful game?
I would say it's huge. I mean, it depends on the draft, though. I mean, can you take it, and how strong are they? But ideally, if you can set up a map state where you take their tier 1 and your tier 1's still up in the safe lanes, in the respective safe lanes, and you have access to their to the hard camp in the lane that you just took their tier 1, you can just stack that hard camp and just pull and deny the wave from them, so they can never get a wave on their side of the map. And you can do so much stuff. You can control that area, you're taking that farm away, and you're just winning the economy game slowly. And their map is naturally smaller then, because of this, and now you can just play a simple economics game, and then you wait for your timings, because naturally you'll get your timings quicker. And then, so if you're both drafts, let's say for example, that want to fight at 10 to 15 minutes, your first like team fight timing, and you get this lead through laning, through outplaying them or whatever, and then you get this scenario set up, you're sort of set up to get the first winning team fight, because you can have the levels sooner, the items sooner, etc, etc, etc. Then you see teams like Liquid and Gaming, they will win a game off of this. The game is now over for you if this scenario happens, because that 1k or 2k gold lead at 12 minutes will turn into a 4k 5k lead at 15 16 minutes, and then that'll mean that they'll take the first rush and they won't make any mistakes, like stupid big mistakes. They won't lose any team fights after that. And then the game's just over. Like, you watch the Liquid games, right? Like, other than game 1 where I think GG threw and then they made some mistakes, it happens, whatever. But game 2 and game 3, it feels like I'm like, wow, okay, like, they're not giving an inch at all, you know? Like, yes, both teams are playing well, but eventually it's just like, okay, Liquid get a lead, Liquid keep the lead, Liquid win the game. It's like, you... And I've been in that position where you're playing against a team that's better than you, and it feels like that. Like, you can feel it. Like, Aurora is a good example, like the old C roster of Aurora. When you play them in tournaments, it's like you can feel like they're eating the map better, they're getting the items sooner. And then you make one mistake, macro mistake, your guy shows at the wrong time, boom, 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 all these things happen. If you lose a team fight, 2 guys die, rush down, they DD ward here, and now the map state's like so spooky. And yeah, it's like, you need to be so careful of these things happening. Otherwise, the game can just be lost. And yeah, you're like, oh, well, let's watch the replay and try and learn. Because we can't play anymore. Yeah.
So with that being said, let's say this is around 5 minutes. So the card is coming into the wave. Do you think if the offlaner on your team is like got a big wave, like a double wave, for example, do you think it's worth it to leave your carry, even if he's going to die, to go through the portal and gank the enemy safe laner to get the tower? Or do you think it's better to keep your carry alive and, not risk it? In your opinion.
Well, I would say there's more factors to consider, and this is the blessing and curse of Dota 2, man. Like, there's so many things to consider. You have to look at your mid lane. Like, if the enemy mid laner is a puck and he has 6 at that time, or if he's gonna get 6 soon, so your mid needs to communicate this, and he has TP ready, and your guy can't cancel TP, or he can, walk to trees and TP, then you don't want to do those dive plays, because you're gonna give this puck free double kill, or whoever gets crawled in the tower is gonna die. So it's depending on the mid matchup. Let's say the enemy mid's like a lone druid or a TA or something, ain't gonna be TPing. Yeah, the dive is possible. But then you need to communicate with your carry, because I don't want my carry to die. I don't think it's worth for my carry to die. Because if my carry is dying, they also have a catapult. They're going to hit my tower, and my carry's dead. So ideally, we shove the wave together, me and my carry. Like, let's say it's a Lina or Wind Ranger, they're pretty good at doing this. And then even without 6, they can still like throw some spells and it's decent. Or Monkey King carry is also very good at doing this. We clear the wave together, and then we gate together, and then we use that double wave, we use that catapult, and we pressure for sure. And maybe your mid is winning, then it's even better because your mid can win, kick the mid laner off the lane. He has to go back to base or whatever. And then my mid's pressuring. Their safe lane is getting pressured. Our off lane is okay. Sorry, our safe lane is okay. So then all the boxes are ticked, and then the pressure can be like very much successfully executed. But otherwise, no, just chill, And I call it slow pressure, just slow pressure. Like your off lane's winning the 2v2, keep it in isolation. Make sure your safe lane is stable, and then prepare for a 6-minute real rune. And you're just playing slow. Because if your off lane is winning and they have a double wave, they're gonna pressure the tower. Obviously, it depends. If they have Mirana, they can arrow the catapult or something. But there's a lot of things to consider. But in general, just stabilize. Like, don't make risky plays. If it's a sure win, then yes, go pressure. But if it's not, all good. You can just keep playing stable and wait for the opportunities to occur like more naturally, and then play through your next timing. But it's definitely a good timing to consider. The catapults are always good.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is something that I'm always like thinking about in my pubs as I climbed recently to 8K. I'm trying to bridge the gap between 8K and the next level, and I think this is like a super important thing because as a 5 and a 4 player, understanding all the nuances. I didn't even think about the mid lane matchup most of the time. I usually just think, oh, lane is shoving in. There's an opportunity to kill the carry. I'm gonna go. But now that you've mentioned it, if there's a mid lane like a puck or something, and I do that, it could end up being worse than if I hadn't done it, right? Like in most things in Dota, sometimes not doing anything is the best play.
I mean, it
now,
depends.
with that being said,
sorry, I just wanted to say one more thing, and this is something that C players, I hate to say, suck at. I call it the state of the game, and this has to be established after the drafts, right? You need to know what the first 10 minutes must look like, and then like the script once again. So you need to take the script, take the first 10 minutes, and understand. Like I was playing a game last night. There's no ways we should lose this game. It's like we are Sand King, Marana, cause we just want to farm, and we're happy going 5-5 in all the lanes. But my brothers, my sea brethren, really want to fight for some reason into like Timbersaw and Ember, and they're just getting killed and killed and killed, and I'm like, we're forcing these fights. We're not getting dived. We're just forcing these fights. It's so bad. Like it's so stupid. Like we cannot win right now. Our game state should just be. I mean, it stacks on triangle. Just stack triangle. SK gets a fat like 13-minute bloodstone, 14-minute bloodstone. He's gonna be so fat, and they can't kill him. Then this Ember's gonna be useless. But because we're playing into this Ember, we're trying to pressure the safe lane tower. Like it's so dumb. Like and then we just lose. But we could have just farmed for 10-15 minutes. They have nowhere to hit towers. They have Ember, Timbersaw. We can just farm, dodge them. We get 15 minutes. We click Solar Flare, Bloodstone, boom, boom, boom. I'm Tuskar in that game. I buff my Mirana. Everyone dies. But because the brain is not really understanding what state we're in, they're just like see hero, go hero, click spells. But that's
you think
no
it's
way
maybe
to
because
win.
they're bored, right? They're like, usually we're fighting people. Why aren't we fighting people right now?
Yeah, no,
Like
for
a lack
sure.
of
I think
discipline,
that's.
or what else do you think it is?
I call it autopilot because I also coached a lot, and I realized the majority of players, even me, we all got to get better at this. Is autopiloting. We just sort of playing. We're just playing. We're not thinking.
Yeah.
And Quinn spoke about this. I think 6 to 8 months ago. He said the best way to improve is to be thinking through everything that you're doing. Like, why am I running here? Why am I doing this? Like, being more conscious of all your actions. So that goes hand in hand with the game state. Like, okay, if I'm an Ember Spirit in mid lane right now, what do I need to be doing? What are we doing in this game at this point in time? Is it a time for me to be pressuring the tier 1 tower? Are my supports going to be able to help me? Do I need to gank the side lanes? Am I just chilling, what are we doing? What's the point of my hero right now? And what's our overall plan? What is our timing that we're trying to get to? When can we win the game? When are we stronger than the enemy? And how are we going to be stronger than the enemy? So these things, I feel like in the vast majority of my C pubs are not. I don't feel like people respond to them if I talk about them, and they don't have it naturally. Versus in Europe, they're very good at that. Like they will say, guys, just stack and farm. Guys, just chill. Guys, if you can't secure water rune, go for it. Like when I play with
Like a lot of active thinking, not a lot of
yeah, but it doesn't have to be big like plans and stuff. It's just generalized ideas that everyone's on the same page. Like I remember playing with Fishman, and I had to play +4, and I was playing with GPK mid and stuff. Like it was a high rank game, but it wasn't. And this was recently. It wasn't like a lot of calling or something, or these crazy plans they're doing. It's just Like everyone's on the same page. Hey guys, can secure water run? Okay, cool. And then I'd be like, hey GPK, I made all these stacks for you. You can use your NP ulti through them. And then he goes, okay. And then I'd say like, hey Fishman, can you gate? And then like small little things, but everyone's like on the same page, you know, because it's these small little timings, and then they will execute it. But in C, I feel like it's not really like that. Even in the high rank pubs, I don't feel like it's the same. It's like more chaotic. More like random, just one guy's running here, one guy's going there, then some guy's saying no back, some guy's saying we can fight. It's like there's no collaborative, big picture thinking.
Yeah. No, I have a similar experience, of course. So I wanted to segue now into a new topic, well, similar topic. What do you think it takes to go pro? Seeing as you're a tier 2 pro, you're almost tier 1. I watched a lot of the Neon games, and I feel like you guys definitely could have won some of those qualifiers. And
Yeah.
I'm very curious because I have some personal aspirations. Obviously, everyone wants to go pro. What are your tips? What do you think it takes?
I think you need to find the role that you're most passionate about and that you love the most, because I think motivation waxes and wanes, but if you really truly want something and you desire it and you're willing to sacrifice to get there, then you'll go through the hard times. Then I think that's the first step, finding that role that naturally speaks to you and that you enjoy. And then you need to dedicate time to understanding what that role means. For example, for me with Pulse 5, I went and I watched a ton of replays. Like I joined Neon for the first time last year with last season with the previous roster, and I had Coach Chuan, TI2 winner, and he told me like watch a lot of replays and understand what they are doing. Like he said back in his day when he was playing for IG and they won TI2, he didn't know how to play Ench, so he went and Chen, but he went and he watched Puppy replays. And he said he watched like 10 to 15, 20 games and to study them and to understand like, okay, these are the timings. This is what the hero can do. So I call it the data. You have to gather the data. And then you need to understand how to implement the data. So now for example, you're a little Pulse 5 player like myself. You go and you take some heroes that you naturally like, and then you go and study the pros. How the people that are better than you are doing with these heroes, what are they doing, how are they using them, and now you have that data for yourself, and then you start to use that data and implement it in your games, like in your pubs and stuff like that. And then I think it's about using that data to get more wins than losses, so to speak. So your MMR increases, and then your MMR increases, you need to network with other high rank players, and then teams will scout you, pick you up, so on and so forth. But I would say the networking is important once you have the necessary skills. And then you can go pro.
So
At least
step
that's
one,
how I've seen
build
you.
the skills. Step 2, talk to people. Don't be a social person and get to know
Yeah.
people. And step 3, profit, right? That's
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I would say like the biggest thing I can say for anyone that wants to go pro is just be a nice human being, I think Dota is a very stressful game, and it's very easy to become toxic. I mean, I've had very toxic episodes. I'm not perfect now, but I've definitely improved a lot. But yeah, be a nice human being, be a nice teammate, because I think if you have skills but you're a trash teammate, not many people want to work with you. They might still because they're desperate and you're good, but it's hard to work with those people, It's hard to work with people that don't accept mistakes. We all make mistakes. We're all going to learn. We're all going to grow. So you need to have a good mindset for that. And I think that's very important. Like, otherwise, yeah, people don't want to work with you. And I've had that before, like in Neon, we're like looking for a new player or something, and we're all like, nah, we don't want this guy because he's like so toxic or he's stupid or something, Like he might be high rank and he's got good mechanics, but it's like that's not all it takes.
Yeah.
You need to build a formula together. You need to build a winning structure. That's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Doesn't just come overnight. So yeah, that's very hectic. So while you're grinding, work on that as well. Like work on your PMA, as RTC said. It's really important, like in pubs.
Yeah. Okay. Seeing as we're sort of reaching on like 52 minutes, I wanted to segue into like I think what I would like to be the final topic, which is your thoughts on the future pro play, especially with the prize pools decreasing and the disappearance of DPC. I know you had some thoughts earlier before we started recording the podcast, so now is the time to let it loose. Let everyone know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think that personally, I think Dota as a game is in a great spot. I like the way that they've done like the fastest and stuff, and I like the communication for Valve in terms of the updates and stuff. They're finally like I think doing that a lot better than previously. Not perfect, but it's better. But I think the ecosystem is way too unstable. I don't know how they are looking to stabilize it, and I don't know how that they are going to fix the problems that are currently at hand. Because the problem is there's a lot more tournaments, and it doesn't matter that TI's prize pool went down. I don't think anyone really cares about that. Like, yeah, it's prestige or whatever, but I think that's fine because there's so many events now, and that's also cool. There's so many events. There's lots of LAN events and stuff. But the problem is that let's say we were looking at talent now for even casting or players. Like there's no more DPC, so a lot of orgs just disappeared because there's no more stability in terms of income coming in. There's no more opportunity to say, hey, sponsors, you're going to be seen by this many people, this many legs there are, etc., etc. Yeah. Now there's just a lot of open qualifiers and closed qualifiers and then LAN event. So it's created for example, in the tier 2 and tier 1 scene, for example, Southeast Asia and I mean every other region basically, there's a lot of stacks. Like me now, I'm not contractually bound to anyone, so I'm playing with stacks, and then if your stack does well and you go to close qualifier and then God willing you qualify, now you can go to an org and be like, hey, can you sign us? We're pretty decent. We want to work together. We want to continue. We want to grind. But there's no more like formative orgs. Like for example, Neon. Neon was a very good formative org. They had their pros and their cons, obviously, like everyone does, or every org does. But they were taking in players like me and like many others, through the system. You would join, you get to grow, learn, and then become a pro, right? Quote unquote. But now those orgs are basically gone. A lot of orgs have disappeared. So, yeah, I don't know. I would like to see some stability because I also think that so many tournaments is not good as well. You see a lot of people like Yatoro. He's taking a break now because he said he's not in his top form. And he tried so hard this season with no results, and now there's even more tournaments coming. Like there's just a lot of $1 million plus tournaments, like multiple times. And on one hand, you'll be like, oh, that's awesome. There's so many events, and it's cool for viewers because they get to watch, right? It's sick for them. But for the players, exhaustion and stuff is one thing. But also, like, if you want to get into Pro Dota, let's say you're a high MMR player, let's say you're top 100, and you're like, cool, I want to go put my life on hold because, playing Pro Dota is very time consuming, and I'm going to pursue this thing. Like, how do you rationally look at that and be like, okay, cool. I'm gonna risk, like a few years of my life and not work or not study, and I'm gonna play Dotes, There's no more DPC. Like previously, I always looked at it like, okay, cool. If I can just get to DPC, I can just get to this place. I'm gonna get money. I'm gonna have stability. There's like, I can go from Division 1 to Division 2, and then it's like there's like a chain that you can go up. Now it's like, oh, mom, don't worry. I'm just gonna qualify. Before then, I'm gonna be earning no money, but I'm gonna qualify. Gotta go to the LAN event, So it's like a Wild West now. I feel like we've gone backwards. The DPC wasn't perfect.
It's exactly
but
like 2015, 2016 time, right?
yeah. I mean, I don't think the DPC was perfect, but I don't think they needed to scrap it like completely. I think that was a bit stupid because yes, it's better for the tier 1 scene now that they can just go to more tournaments. I mean, they don't have to play in these leagues and stuff like that. But now the tier 2 scene is gone. So what are you gonna say now? Like how are we gonna foster new talent? They're going to take more risks than before to want to play Pro Dota. And I think that's foolish, And there's less orgs now, Because orgs struggle to get sponsorships because, let's say you're a tier 2 team, like, or tier 1.5. I'd classify Neon as tier 1.5 because we were kind of like close. We were better than the tier 2 teams on paper and kind of nearly there, tier 1 with Aurora and the boys. But, we struggle to get sponsors in Neon because, how can you say, like, to a sponsor, yeah, this is how many eyes we're gonna get on you, because there's no more like leagues unless you're qualifying. Sorry, and there's no more like tournament views unless you're qualifying to the main event. So previously it was DPC, so it was easy. Like, oh yeah, we average like 5 to 10k or 15k or whatever viewers a stream, and this is how many games you're gonna play. And then the sponsor's like, okay, cool. Well then, we're gonna give you this much, and we'll go from there or whatever. Now it's like, we'll sponsor you if you get to the main tournament. That's fantastic, but we can't get to the main tournament because no one wants to sit and be making no money,
Practice,
like
right?
Yeah, we have to practice like 10 to 12 hours a day to try to be the best, and there's nothing that's like tying you down in a positive way to do that. There's no security.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's weird. I feel like it's Dota is in a weird space, and I pray that something stabilizes it. I know that the ESL circuit tried to this year with the
Mhm.
ESL points and stuff like that, but I don't think that's enough. Like, I think that there needs to be some sort of tier two development or tier two support. Otherwise, less and less players, in my opinion, unless they're crazy, will go and commit their lives to becoming pro Dota players. Like League of Legends, the talent just keeps coming up because they have academy leagues, they have academy rosters. Every team has like their main team and the academy team, so it's like tier one, tier two, and it funnels, you know. Like, oh, our carry player can't play this week, he's sick or whatever. Well, we get our academy guy in, you know. And then, or if they want roster changes, hey, maybe we bring up a guy from academy, you know. So they have like a system that works, but Dota doesn't have this. So I don't know. I'm not some economist or something, but I just think that that's not it's not a very good system we're currently in. It's good for the fans, it's good for the tier one, like the top of tier one, but the rest it's not good at all.
I completely agree. I was thinking the same thing when they removed DPC. It's like, now we're gonna have a lot more tournaments, but now we're also not gonna have any tier two scene. It just felt like, something where the DPC was developed in the first place to grow the tier two scene. Where did we get the Yotoros, the collapses, the Team Spirit basically? They came out of the
Yeah.
DPC, right? And
Oh yeah,
now there's no
true.
DPC.
Yeah,
Where
I
are we
didn't
gonna
think
get
about
another
that.
Team Spirit, right? It's gonna be really difficult. It's gonna be
Yeah.
the same old people. It's gonna be the same people.
Oh,
Or-
one more thing that I forgot to say, and this is a very big like elephant in esports, but it's a very big elephant in the room, is that now because there's no more tier two scene, and I've been at the mercy of this, like on the receiving end, you get invited to these random tier two tournaments, right? And you think great, like it's like some $50,000, $100,000 tournament from like these random orgs. Not all of them are bad, but I'm saying some of them are. And then you play against some teams, and there's definitely like match fixing, like 100%. You're playing against
Mm.
cheaters, like, and you and I know this. Like in Neon, we had some games where we play, and the enemy pick like Naga, Puck, and stuff, and they like let you get the first 10 kills, and then they will just split push the whole game. You can't catch them ever. They wait for 60 minutes, then they go end the game. You know, like, and other games where they like spot your smokes, they deal with all your wards. You can't catch anyone, and you have to play in these tournaments, quote unquote, because you want money, right? It's like your
Mm.
little org wants money, and there's some decent viewers on Twitch or whatever. But it's like the match fixing now goes up because the tier two scene is in shambles. So
Mm.
not that I'm
A
saying
lot
that
more
DPC
desperate players,
fixed.
right?
Yes, yes, yes. And now, once again, like let's say you're a tier two player and you really want to make it, but you have no money. Now, if someone comes to you and says, "Hey, do you want a match fix or whatever?" Then I'm sure a lot of players, if they're weaker, they would want to accept it. You know, they'd have to have a very strong conscience. Like I'm fortunate, uh, I've never accepted it, nor will I ever accept it. But I don't have any problems financially, like with my family or anything like that, you know. But I'd imagine for some people, they don't have that luxury. They might have financial problems with their family and stuff, so they will do any means to make ends meet. So yeah, and that's hectic, and that also hurts our scenes. So there's just a lot of things
Yeah.
I think that we have to consider, and the tier two scene falling apart is, I think, a disaster for the future. But I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast, Castaway. This is an awesome conversation. I'm gonna have a great time, editing and like posting this out. I'll send you the links, and for anyone who has like any comments and stuff, leave them down below. I can maybe send them to Castaway if you have any questions for him, if he's willing to answer them. Maybe he'll
Sure.
respond there personally. And thanks to my great co-caster Leo. Miguel was not able to join today. We usually have three of us, but Miguel had like a headache, so he didn't join. But I think we did a great job without him. Shout out Miguel though. And anyways, thanks everyone, and we'll see you guys on the next podcast.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you for having me.